Virgo, have you ever stood at a grave and felt like you were standing at a beginning, not an end, Virgo? Have you ever felt like you were left with nothing, and yet somehow they left you everything? Have you ever wondered if the universe could take a goodbye and secretly turn it into a blessing? What if the very funeral you're mourning right now is actually the doorway to a fortune you never saw coming? And if every loss wasn't really a loss, but a blessing in disguise? What if, Virgo? If you're here, it's not random. This moment, this message, it's your sign. Stay with me, because today we're not just talking about endings. We're talking about what's waiting after. We're talking about inheritance, about karmic fortune, about the destiny that was written for you long before you even knew it. Today, Virgo, we're going to walk together through 3 powerful gates, and Virgo, this isn't just a conversation. It's a ritual. It's a sacred walk through 3 gates, each one asking something deeper from you, each one holding a secret you're finally ready to claim. The gate of separation from a person, the gate of separation from the old self, and the gate of separation from a dream. But this time, something unexpected waits on the other side, because after the funeral comes the inheritance. After the goodbye comes the gift. By the end of this journey, Virgo, you won't just release the weight, you'll claim the fortune that's been waiting for you. Virgo, letting go feels like losing. You've been carrying grief, guilt, and unanswered questions for so long. Maybe you've wondered if closure will ever come. Maybe you've told yourself, this is all there is. But what if that's not true? What if what looks like an ending is actually a door? What if the love they left behind wasn't the only thing they left? Maybe, Virgo, there's more for you hidden, waiting, written in the stars before you even knew. And maybe, Virgo, it's not just the fear of letting go of them. Maybe it's the fear of letting go of the version of you who held on to them. Like, who am I if I'm no longer the one carrying their memory, their pain, their story? Sometimes we hold on, not because we can't live without them, but because we're scared we won't recognize ourselves without that weight. Virgo, let's take a moment together. I want you to picture someone in your life, someone who's passed on, someone who's left, maybe even someone you never got the chance to say goodbye to. Maybe it was your grandmother, a parent, a mentor. Maybe their absence still lingers in quiet moments, like when a certain song plays, or when you catch a familiar scent in the air that takes you right back to them. You've carried their memory, their love, their story with you, sometimes like a warm blanket, sometimes like a quiet ache. And maybe, just maybe, you've also carried a question. Did they leave me anything? Was there something they wanted me to have, to hold, to discover after they were gone? I want to tell you a story about a Virgo woman who shared something powerful with me. Her grandmother passed away last year. They hadn't been close in recent years, but when she was a child, they'd spend summers together baking in her tiny kitchen, flipping through old cookbooks, laughing as flour dusted the countertops. After the funeral, she didn't expect anything. There had been no big conversations, no promises of inheritance. But a month later, a letter arrived. It was from her grandmother's lawyer. Inside was a simple message. She had left her a small house in the countryside. Confused, she made the trip to see it. The house was quiet, dusty, filled with old furniture and photographs. But in the back bedroom, tucked inside a drawer, she found a wooden box. And inside that box, a stack of handwritten letters, family recipes on yellowed cards, and a delicate gold bracelet engraved with her name. She told me, through tears, that it wasn't about the house or the bracelet. It was the feeling that even in death, Her grandmother had been thinking of her, leaving behind pieces of her story, pieces of herself, waiting to be discovered when the time was right. That inheritance wasn't just material. It was emotional, spiritual, a quiet blessing, wrapped in memory and love. And another Virgo told me this once after her mother passed. She found an old diary buried under a pile of books, page after page. Her mom had written little stories, poems, thoughts she never shared. And reading them, she said, felt like sitting across from her mom, like finally having the conversations they never had time for. That diary became her inheritance, a quiet doorway back into a love that never left. Virgo. Sometimes the inheritance we receive isn't measured in money or property. Sometimes it's a gift of strength, a reminder of where we came from, a permission slip to continue what they couldn't finish. Maybe it's a talent they passed down without even realizing it. Maybe it's a phrase you hear yourself saying now, the same way they once spoke it. Maybe it's a seed of wisdom, planted deep, waiting for you to water it. I want you to think about it for a second. What have you inherited that you've never opened? What doors have been waiting for you to walk through, but you've been too busy, too scared, too uncertain to even notice? Sometimes we overlook the treasure right under our feet because we expect it to look like something else. We expect a check, a big announcement, a clear sign. But life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes the gift is subtle, quiet, hidden inside a dusty drawer, or a memory, or a feeling that keeps pulling you back to a place or a moment. Tonight, Virgo, I want to invite you into a ritual, a simple but powerful act of honoring what's been left for you. Even if you don't know what it is yet, write down their name, write down every memory, every lesson, every word that comes to mind when you think of them. Write it all down on a piece of paper, and when you're ready, light a candle, hold that paper close, and then, safely, burn it. Watch the smoke rise. Imagine it carrying your gratitude, your love, your unanswered questions into the night sky. And as you watch, whisper to yourself, I release what was. I open to what is. Because Virgo, the gate of separation from a person isn't just about letting go of them. It's about letting go of the weight, the guilt, the unfinished sentences, the what-ifs that keep circling in your mind. It's about making space for their love to live inside you, not as a burden, but as a blessing. It's about realizing that the inheritance they left you isn't something you have to search for. It's already part of you, in your smile, in your resilience, in the way you keep going, even when it's hard. I know letting go feels scary. It feels like saying goodbye all over again. But what if letting go isn't a goodbye? What if it's a transformation? What if it's not about leaving them behind, but about carrying them forward in a new way? Every time you tell their story, every time you live with integrity, every time you show kindness or strength, you're honoring them. You're extending their legacy. And maybe, just maybe, after you walk through this gate, you'll notice something you hadn't before. An opportunity, a connection, a quiet blessing that feels like it's been waiting just for you. Because sometimes, after the funeral, after the tears, after the long nights of wondering what's next, comes a gift, a fortune. Not always the kind you can cash at a bank, but the kind that enriches your soul, aligns your path, reminds you that you are never truly left with nothing. You've been left with everything you need to continue. Virgo, tonight is your time. The gate is open. The invitation is here. Step through, lighter, freer, ready to discover what's been waiting for you all along. Virgo, let's take a moment to talk about something that doesn't get talked about enough, the quiet, invisible weight of becoming someone new. You know, it's funny. We always hear about people who have breakthrough moments, dramatic transformations, like they woke up one day and everything clicked. But for most of us, change doesn't feel like a fireworks show. It feels like a slow unraveling, like shedding a skin we forgot we were even wearing. I want to tell you about my friend Marcus. Marcus spent years working in finance, clocking in at a job he hated, wearing a suit that never felt like him. He'd sit in meetings, nodding along, but every day his soul was shrinking. Then his father passed away, and while his father didn't leave him money, he left behind a small, weathered journal. In it were quotes, prayers, letters his dad had written to himself over the years. Marcus said it felt like his dad had left him a blueprint, not for a career, but for a life. And reading those words lit something in him. Within a year, Marcus quit his job, went back to school for counseling, and today, he runs a small practice helping young men navigate grief and identity. He told me it wasn't an inheritance of cash. It was an inheritance of courage. Virgo, what have you inherited without even realizing it? Maybe you've been carrying lessons, values, strength passed down from someone before you. Maybe the wisdom you need has been sitting inside you all along, waiting for you to stop and listen. Virgo, it's kind of like a snake shedding its skin, or a butterfly breaking out of its cocoon. Letting go of the old self doesn't mean the old self failed. It means it completed its part. It's time for the next skin, the next wings. Sometimes, letting go of the old self isn't about saying goodbye. It's about saying thank you. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for getting me this far. But now it's time to rest. It's time to release. I want you to try something tonight. Write a letter to that old version of you, the one who stayed quiet to keep the peace, the one who settled because they thought they couldn't ask for more. Tell them you love them. Tell them you honor them. Tell them they don't have to carry it anymore. And then, Virgo, burn that letter safely. Watch the smoke rise as a symbol of release. Feel the air clear. Feel your chest expand. I had another friend, Leah, who found her strength in an unexpected way. After years in a toxic relationship, she discovered a box of letters her grandmother had written decades ago. Letters filled with stories of heartbreak, resilience, starting over. Reading those letters gave Leah the push she needed to leave. It was like my grandma was speaking straight to me. She said, like she left me instructions on how to be brave. Virgo, what would happen if you saw yourself as the legacy, if you believed that your strength, your kindness, your dreams were the inheritance meant to keep growing? Maybe the most powerful gift you've been given isn't something you can hold. Maybe it's the permission to live bigger, freer, more honestly. And I know, Virgo, part of you wonders, who will I be if I'm not who I've always been? Who am I if I stop being the caretaker, the fixer, the one who keeps it all together? But here's the truth. You're still you. Underneath the roles, the expectations, the old stories, you're still you. And that you deserves to breathe. Tonight, when you stand under the sky, I want you to speak these words. I release who I was. I welcome who I am becoming. Say it out loud. Feel it vibrate in your chest. Say it again until it feels less scary and more true. Because every time you speak it, you're taking another step through the gate. Marcus's story, Leah's story, maybe even your story. They're all reminders that becoming isn't about betraying the past. It's about honoring the past by choosing to move forward, by choosing to keep growing, by choosing to say yes to the life waiting for you. Virgo, you've already started. The very fact that you're here, listening, willing to consider a new chapter that's proof. The gate isn't something far away. It's already open, and all that's left is for you to walk through. I want you to imagine tomorrow morning, you wake up, and instead of replaying the old stories, you ask, what does the next version of me need? Maybe it's rest. Maybe it's joy. Maybe it's simply the permission to try. Whatever it is, Virgo, give it. Because you've given so much to everyone else. This season, it's time to give to you. Tonight's ritual isn't just about burning a letter. It's about igniting a new path. It's about declaring to the universe and to yourself that you're ready. Ready for softness. Ready for courage. Ready for a peace that doesn't depend on keeping everything under control. And Virgo, if you've walked through any of these gates, if you've carried a story like this, if you've felt a shift tonight, share it in the comments below. Your story might be the light someone else needs right now. Virgo, you've carried enough. You've earned this next chapter, and it's waiting for you, just beyond the gate. And Virgo, let's not forget the lessons we inherit aren't always spoken out loud. Sometimes they're hidden in the things we watched growing up. The way someone in our family handled stress. The way they showed love even when they didn't say it. I remember another Virgo who told me how her mother never once said, "I'm proud of you" aloud. But she showed up to every recital, every game, sat front row at every school play. Years later, when her mother passed, she found a scrapbook filled with every program. That scrapbook became her inheritance. It wasn't about the paper or the glue. It was about the message: I saw you. I witnessed you. I loved you the best way I knew how. Virgo, maybe someone left you something similar, a sign, a memory, a proof of their quiet love. Maybe their greatest gift wasn't in what they gave you materially, but in the values they modeled, the courage they embodied, the dreams they dared to whisper even if they never lived them fully. And that brings me to a powerful question. What dream of theirs are you meant to fulfill? What seed did they plant in you that it's finally time to grow? Maybe they never got to travel, but you can. Maybe they never got to stand up for themselves, but you can. Maybe they always wished for a gentler life, and now you're the one who can build it. Tonight, as you reflect, I invite you to write not just to your old self, but to them, to the ancestors, the mentors, the loved ones who handed you invisible keys. Thank them, honor them, promise them that you'll keep going. And when you burn that letter, see it as a release not of obligation, but of permission. Permission to step forward without guilt. Permission to live freely, knowing that you carry their love, their hopes, their wisdom in every step. Because Virgo, letting go doesn't mean forgetting. Letting go means letting the love flow in a way that lifts you, not weighs you down. Letting go means trusting that their legacy didn't end, it continues through you. And as you stand at this gate tonight, I hope you feel it, the quiet strength rising in your chest. The whisper that says, it's time. It's your turn. You're ready. Virgo, sometimes the hardest thing to let go of is the dream you thought was yours forever. Maybe you dreamed of starting your own business, building a family, writing a book, or traveling the world. And yet, life had other plans. Maybe doors closed. Maybe people left. Maybe your timeline shifted in ways you didn't expect. And now you're standing here, wondering what it means to release that dream, to accept that it may never look the way you imagined. I remember a story about a woman named Emily. She wanted to open a bakery since she was a little girl. She spent years saving, planning, perfecting recipes. But then her father got sick. She had to use her savings to take care of him. And after he passed, she thought the dream had died with him. But a few months later, she inherited his old tools and recipes. And slowly, From her tiny kitchen, she started baking again, posting online, selling small orders. Today, she runs a thriving online bakery, shipping cookies nationwide. The dream didn't die. It transformed. Virgo, what if the dream you're holding on to isn't meant to stay in its old form? What if letting go is the way to make space for what's actually aligned for you? I want you to try this ritual. Write down the dream you've been mourning, the one that no longer holds you the way it used to. Fold the paper, light it, watch the ash fall, scatter it into water, and say aloud, I release this dream to the flow. I trust what's coming, because sometimes, Virgo, surrender isn't giving up. It's opening your hands so something new can land. And maybe, just maybe, what's waiting for you is bigger, brighter, and more beautiful than you ever dared to imagine. Let me tell you another story. A Virgo named Mark had always dreamed of being an architect, but life pulled him into working construction to pay bills. After years of labor, he felt like his dream had faded. Then one day, a client noticed his skill and offered to sponsor his education. Today, Mark isn't just building homes, he's designing them. Sometimes, the dream needs to break apart before it comes back together in a new way. Virgo, think about the dreams you've buried under layers of survival, responsibility, fear. Are they truly gone or waiting for you to notice them again? Maybe you've already gathered the tools you need without realizing. Maybe the setback wasn't a punishment, but preparation. Tonight, let's make a promise to honor the dream in whatever form it shows up, to stop comparing it to old timelines, to believe that even detours can lead to destiny. But it's not just about career dreams. Let me share a story about Jenna, a Virgo who carried a different kind of dream. Her mother always wanted to travel the world, but never could. After her mother passed, Jenna found a box of postcards from places her mom dreamed of visiting. Inspired, Jenna made it her mission to visit those places, sending a postcard back home from every stop. It feels like I'm carrying her with me, she told me, like I'm living the dream she never got to live. Sometimes, Virgo, honoring a dream means letting it evolve, letting it move through you in unexpected ways. Maybe, Virgo, the dream didn't die. Maybe it just shape-shifted. It didn't disappear. It transformed. Virgo, you've been walking this road for a long time now, haven't you, carrying the weight, the questions, the what-ifs that never really had an answer. And maybe tonight, right here, right now, you're standing at a crossroads you never thought you'd reach. You've been grieving, holding on, wondering if it was ever going to make sense, wondering if the ache would ever ease up. But let me tell you something, Virgo, this is not the end of your story. This is the part where it starts to unfold in a way you never imagined. You see, the funeral you've been mourning, it wasn't just an ending, it was a turning point. It was the closing of a chapter that had to end so you could step into the next one with your arms wide open. I want you to pause for a second. Take a breath. Really feel this moment. That ache in your chest, that tightness in your throat. That's the sign you've been waiting for. Not the flashy billboard or the loud announcement. No, Virgo, your sign was always going to be quiet, personal, a whisper that only your heart would recognize. And here it is. You're ready. You've carried enough. You've cried enough. You've proven enough. And now, it's time to claim what's been waiting for you on the other side of all that loss. Maybe it's not the kind of fortune you were expecting. Maybe it's not a check or a sudden windfall or a name in a will. But Virgo, sometimes the greatest fortune is the courage to begin again. Sometimes it's the strength to stand back up after the world knocked you down more times than you can count. Sometimes it's the peace that settles over you when you realize you don't have to hold it all together anymore. And sometimes, yes, sometimes it's also the material blessing, the opportunity, the unexpected gift that shows up right when you thought you'd run out of luck. I want you to think back. Virgo, think about all the times you kept going when nobody saw, nobody cheered, nobody clapped for you. Think about the moments you carried others while your own heart was breaking. Think about the sacrifices you made, the quiet prayers you whispered into the dark. Every single one of those moments planted a seed. And tonight is the night you start seeing what's been growing under the surface all along. I remember a friend of mine who told me she spent years thinking she was stuck, that nothing would ever change. She cleaned houses for a living, barely scraping by, but she kept showing up. One day, one of her clients overheard her singing while she worked. Turns out, that client worked in music, and just like that, she was offered a chance to record. Her first album wasn't a bestseller, but it opened a door she never would have walked through if she hadn't kept showing up, hadn't kept singing even when nobody was listening. That's what I mean, Virgo. Sometimes, your fortune comes wrapped in ordinary moments, in small acts of faithfulness, in tiny seeds that bloom when you least expect. And maybe for you, Virgo, it won't be a record deal or a big headline. Maybe it's a deeper peace, a stronger sense of self, a relationship that honors who you've become, a chance to build something that matters. Whatever it is, know this, it's coming. It's been waiting for you to lay down the grief, to release the guilt, to make space in your hands for something new. Because you can't carry both the weight of what was and the blessing of what's next. Tonight is the night you set it down. Tonight is the night you say, I've honored the past, and now I honor the future. Virgo, this is your turning point. This is the moment you've been prepared for, even when it didn't feel like preparation. This is the inheritance they couldn't write in a will, the strength, the resilience, the quiet fire that kept you going. And now, it's time to step forward, time to open your hands, time to receive. You're ready. The gate is open. Walk through. And Virgo, the gate isn't cracked open anymore. It's wide open. And the light from the other side, it's already touching your face. This is the moment to step forward without needing to turn around, without needing one more reason to stay behind. And Virgo, as you walk through that gate, know this, you're not walking alone. Everyone who ever loved you, whoever dreamed for you, whoever whispered hope over you, they're walking with you. Right there, in your heart, every step carried forward.